tonight. We're very excited to have all of you here. I see a couple of my friends in the audience there. Tammy now, who is a best-selling author, by the way. She was featured on one of my YouTube videos, so we've been good friends for a couple of years now. So it's very good. So tonight, we're going to go through the presentation. We're going to have plenty of time for question and answer. You can also put questions in the chat, but we will answer most of the questions at the end. With Massive Capital is myself and Maria tonight. Everyone else is at a big event up in Dallas. And then of course we have Paul, who's going to be doing a big portion of our presentation tonight. I'm going to start off our presentation, and if you can just confirm, Maria, that you can see the presentation.
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Oh, I guess I should start at the beginning. Sorry about that. So tonight we're going to be talking about XSpace Houston. It's a land development deal where we're building business condominiums that are mixed use. So I want to make sure that I'm clear on what we're talking about here. This is not grandma's storage. This is not the extra space down at the corner. These are high-end, multi-purpose business use lots that are normally purchased by what I'm going to refer to as eclectic, wealthy owners that are looking for a work, live space where that they can take care of everything. So we're going to go through a bit of an executive summary. We're going to tell you about our team. We're going to tell you about the space, the amenities, and the location. And then we'll talk a little bit about the project, the financials, and the timeline. So again, this is XSpace. This is the second development. It's in Houston, Texas. The first one is in Austin. I did put a link in the chat where you can do a tour of the Austin facility if you haven't seen it. We did an event there, and we may still have a couple of other events where people will be able to come and see the facility if it's necessary. We want to make sure. So I want you all to read this. I hope you all took your speed reading course. Basically, we are not financial advisors. We're not accountants. We're not lawyers. We're here to present an offering. We follow the SEC guidelines. This is a 506C syndication, which is only available for accredited investors. So this is XSpace Houston. This is a bird's eye view of an artist rendering of the location. And you will go through a little bit more detail of the location, where it is, what it looks like. But as you can see, it's a super sexy looking building. So this is a very nice space. On our executive summary, so XSpace is reimagining people way to use a space and have adapted a formula. It was originally started in Australia, and they actually started out as a little bit more traditional. It was called flex space, where there was a mixture of things used, and they developed it over time. And Paul will talk a little bit about it when he introduces the XSpace team. And then they built the first location in Austin, Texas. It's been up and running for about a year. And again, Paul was one of the first buyers of a condo. So I want to make sure I'm clear. These are condominiums. So owners buy their space, and then the owners are responsible for fitting out their space. And this one does not have bonus depreciation and is too late for a 1031 exchange. You only get bonus depreciation when you buy an existing asset. So we're going to talk a little bit about the team. And we're a team of XSpace, PSC Properties, and Massive Capital. And we'll let Paul introduce XSpace and his team.
All right. Thanks, Trevor. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight and spending your precious time with us. We're really excited about this project. So this project was started in Australia originally by Byron Smith and his construction family. They were building self-storage, and there are people that listen to their tenants and listen to everything they're saying about their spaces, and they found that the tenants were saying they wanted bigger space. So not only did they want to store things in their spaces, in their units, but they also wanted to do more things in the units. You know, some people would try to start to do a little hobby inside their unit and things like that. So they listened to their tenants, and they built bigger units. And in those bigger units, people started to put a couch and a chair, and then pretty soon a TV. And then they started to kind of use them and function in those units. Some people started their hobbies in those spaces. And so it kind of took off from there. And they, again, kind of continued to listen to them. And so they eventually developed a concept called flex space, where it could be storage, but it also could be for your other activities as well. Your hobbies, maybe, you know, your business, maybe a man cave, she cave type of thing. And so that started to get wildly popular. So they built many more of those in Australia. And now they brought this concept to the United States. And the first one was built in Austin. And that one in Austin was also very successful. In just a year's time, they sold out all of the spaces. And they've again listened to their tenants, and they're finding out more things that they can do even better in the Houston facility. Also on the team of XSpace is Howard Ecker. He's a businessman from Chicago who has a lot of contacts in the business world, and he is the chairman of the board actually of XSpace, and is helping guide them in a business fashion. Lyle Sendlin is a developer, construction planner person, and he's kind of doing a lot of the groundwork on getting the space developed and designed. And this is our team, PSC Properties. I work with my two children, Ryan and Lacey, and we've had about our company for about 25 years. And we've done everything probably that you have done. We've started with single family homes and small multifamily, and then bigger multifamily, and have grown to more of a development company. And along with a partner of mine, we brought into the company, we have actually done about 45 now full cycle syndications, pretty close to about 500 million in asset value transactions. The other side of my life is I was a head and neck surgeon for 30 years. And I just retired 2 years ago now and do real estate full time. But we did our other company pretty much on the side and with the help again with my family. So Ryan does asset management. Lacey does all of our creative stuff, and she's the one who's made this pitch deck and all of our beautiful pictures. And speaking of diversification in our portfolio, these are 3 of our properties that we have: a mixed use on top, a medical office in the middle there, an emergency room, and then we're also developing some townhomes in Georgetown, Texas.
So one of the things too that I omitted to talk about at the beginning too is we really believe that diversifying your portfolio, just like everyone tells you with your stock portfolio, having different asset classes, different timelines, different types of investments helps you have a balanced portfolio. So personally, I've invested in 21 syndications in the last 5 years. And in fact, I'm a passive investor with Paul on the Mesquite Medical Center. So I've known Paul for a while, and we're also partners on the Berry Creek Townhome development in Georgetown. And this is the 3rd project that we're working together on in the XSpace. So a little bit about massive capital. We have Sanjay Agarwal at the top left, Shirar Khan, and then Mike Bailey. These are our 3 main principals that operate massive capital. They all have 20 plus years extensive real estate background. I'm not going to go through and read their resumes here. And on the right, we have part of our main team. So Jasmine, myself, Maria, and Candace, we're on the investor relations. So we're the one that helps you work through, understand your investments, and then works you through if you want to become a passive investor, pardon me. So we're going to talk a little bit about the space, and I'm going to turn this back over to Paul because, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, he was one of the first condo owners in the Austin facility, so he really understands the space, and it's always good to hear him describe it.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. So, you know, imagine that they've kind of basically built a garage, a parking garage shell. And then they put units in there, and the units are all a shell as well. And then the owners buy the units, and then the owners outfit the units as they would like. Some of them, you'll see some pictures in a minute of how that all works. So down in the middle is the hallway, and you can see on the two sides are the units. And what's really cool about this, and what's really been a interesting part of this, is that you can drive right up to your unit. And in fact, you can drive into your unit and store your car in your unit, your one car or 5 cars, or how many ever cars you have, you can store them here. And the key here is this is a very safe, secure, 24-hour security type of place, and that's climate controlled. Go to the next slide. And again, this is kind of just the concept of how XSpace has started. And again, the X in there, or the flex in there, to me represents 2 words. And one word is flexible. So it's very flexible what you can do with your space. Again, we talked about hobbies, maybe your business, storing your cars, or storing other valuables here. Again, being very secure and safe place. And so that has been, it is more of a need and niche need out there than you might think. A lot of people like to store their stuff, but where are you going to store things that you value, that is close to you in your city, not far away, and is very secure and air conditioned and climate controlled? So that's what happens here, and that's how this all started. And again, the owners of XSpace were very astute in listening to the concerns of their tenants. So the design of this, as it originally was more of a kind of a garage type of a parking garage type of design, and you'll see the XSpace design in Austin. But Howard Ecker, the chairman of the board, knows this kind of famous designer who designed all these beautiful buildings around the world. And so he has brought Francisco into the design of the Houston XSpace, and that's why it is so beautiful. Francisco has designed the Bangkok airport, and he designed this beautiful baseball park in Mexico City, and these 2 buildings here in the center you see in Las Vegas. Those are all Francisco's designs. So we're very fortunate to have him put his touch on our Houston facility. And this is the exterior, and you can see it here. It's 4 stories. The 4th story has a lounge area to it, and so people commiserate in the lounge. They come up there, and you get to know your fellow owners, and it really works out very well that way. And you can see on this latest design that they have of Houston that there are some decks and terraces, and so those are out there as well. And depending what unit you buy, you can get your own little terrace and out there as well. So that's another cool addition to this latest design. This is the rooftop and interior, again, artist rendering, and this is what this lounge will look like on the left side. And then again, on the right side is kind of going down the hallway where these are. You can imagine that there's a room for 3 cars or 3 lanes in the hallway area. You can park your car in front of your unit, and then the other person parks their car, and then there's a drive lane down the middle. And these we thought was pretty interesting to show actual photos of the actual units in the Austin facility. And here you can see how people will use their units. So it's kind of seeing is believing on how they do that. On the lower left, you see a person with a pool table and large screen TV, and it looks like they're kind of entertaining there and having that for people to come over and maybe watch a event or a game or something, and use it as kind of an entertainment space. And then the other pictures kind of show a little bit more of a relaxation type space with couches and chairs and books and reading material. And that's how other people might use their space. You can also see that the garage door in the center here, the garage doors are large, so you can, again, pull your car in if you wanted to. And then the garage doors are made of glass, so they are see-through. And then some people might frost their glass just if they want a little bit more privacy, for instance. And on the lower right, you can see somebody's got this almost like a little office or area here, and how they have outfitted their unit. So this is kind of representative of how people use their units. These are renderings. These might not be the final actual drawings, but this is what we think the units will look like in the Houston space. And because of the design of the building, there'll be some curvatures to some of these and kind of make it pretty interesting. They all have windows to them. I think some of the interior units may not have a window, but again, it's interesting how some people are buying 2 units, maybe 1 unit that does not have a window and 1 unit that does have a window, and opening that up to a larger space. So these are the types and shapes that some of these units will look like in Houston. And then just on the floor plan levels, I mean, so on the first floor, people can just drive right in to their units. And this is kind of a rendering of how those will look. And so they just can drive right up. And go up to the second level or the third level. And so it's also interesting what they learned in the Austin facility is they took out the drive up ramps, which actually took a lot of space. And instead of the ramps, they're using car lifts. So these car lifts are on either side of the building, and that you will take your car up then to your second or third level, and then go into your space that way. Again, park your car in your space or park it right outside of your space. So that was a very efficient design feature for the Houston facility. And then level 3 looks pretty much the same. And then level 4, they are not having any cars on level 4. On this level, you would then walk there, come up that area. And then on the 4th level, they have the lounge you can see down there marked as LT. And that's the lounge area where everybody will get together. So this 4th level is more of a walkable area. Again, you'll probably have a little better view up on the 4th level, and those are a little bit more of the desirable units. And they will have terraces on the outside of them. And again, so that's the conceptual design of those.
And then one thing too that we omitted to mention is a lot of the areas, each floor does have a small kitchen area and has a restroom. And there's also meeting rooms that can be rented. So we did an event at the Austin facility, and we used the room to be able to make, private presentations to people. And also want to make sure if you get a copy of this deck, this adds up to more units than are really there. It's an artist rendering, and you'll see some of the units are already designed that they might be 2-story units. Again, it depends what people purchase because they are very custom built after the shell is made.
And yeah, so despite all of that, despite all of having a great desire for this and filling a niche that is not filled with other kinds of storage, and also the excellent returns that Trevor is going to talk about, we are really thrilled about the location here in Houston. This is on Old Katy Road in the Houston Design District, not too far from the downtown and the airport. These units are 20 feet from floor to ceiling, and they're fully air conditioned and ventilated. We believe that there's going to turn out to be about 88 units in this phase 1 with occupancy next year. But this is a great location, and across the street from this location is an Aston Martin car dealership. Down the street a little bit is a Lamborghini car dealership. So you can buy your Lamborghini and put it in your XSpace unit. And then around here too, I believe there is also some very nice Class A multifamily apartments as well. So it's a very nice area. It's kind of an infill spot. We're very lucky to get this spot in Houston, and it just provides a great location. One other thing I want to say about the location is I was talking to a owner the other day, and who has quite a few cars, and he said that what he's had to do in the past was actually find space at an airport hangar for his cars, and that was about 20 miles outside of town, and he had to take it out there, and the airport hangar was dusty and dirty, and he had to cover his cars and that sort of thing. Not ideal, but that was the only other options that they have. So now with an option like this, He can park his car in a clean, secure area, closer in town, obviously. And he's just thrilled to have ownership there.
All right, thank you, Paul. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the project, estimated returns and different things. And again, feel free to put questions in the chat. And I'm going to take a moment because I went quickly through the cost segregation and the 1031, and I should have given a little more detail. So you only get cost segregation when you're buying an existing, right? So the next purchaser of this space might be able to get it. There is no depreciation on land. There's no depreciation on being able to build a new building on land. So this is not a depreciation play. This is a pure multiplier of your money and a high internal rate of return. And the way this deal is structured, there is not the option for a 1031. But if you do have funds, Massive Capital always has deals happening. And many of our deals have had 1031 exchanges brought into them. The harder thing is just the timing of them and when, what, and where, because obviously you have a window that they have to be done in. So sorry, I gave a quick answer on that, and I should have given a longer answer. So we're going to go here a little bit and just talk about financial projections and returns. So this particular project, we are estimating a 22.8% internal rate of return. And for those of you that aren't very active passive investors, internal rate of return, IRR, is really the time use of your money. So if I tell you I'm going to double your money in so many years, if it takes me 5 years, your IRR is higher. It takes me 7 or 10 years, your IRR is lower. So because this is a quicker time frame project, it gives you a better internal rate of return on your money. We are estimating that it will be a 1.5 multiple of your money in 2 to 2.5 years of the project cycle. There is a 7% preferred payment. So what this means is that the investors will get a cash on cash 7% return before the general partners are eligible to take any share of the proceeds. So again, this is a way for us to put our investors first. And then after the 7% is done, the 17% IRR up to there, it's a 70-30 split. We believe this deal will be greater than that, and it's a 50-50 split. So I want to make sure that I'm clear again. Investors get the first 7% cash on their money. It goes to a 70-30 split after the investors have been paid. And if we achieve a greater than 17% IRR, which this project is estimated to do, it's a 50-50 limited partner sponsor split on the money. The minimum investment is $100,000 on this particular deal. And on the right, it kind of just gives you a chart, right? You put your money in year 1, year 2, you don't really make any money. You'll make $49,500, which is your 1.5 multiple of your money. Again, the IRR, it's a little bit deceiving, the cash on cash and annualized return. It's just some people understand those metrics. So we wanted to make sure that we included those metrics in this. And exit strategy is 2 to 2.5 years. And you'll see a little bit on the time frame why we put that delta in there. So this is the projected. So we've closed on the land already. The land is already bought. It's a 100% entitled, ready to go. It has all of the sewer systems, everything that's needed for the land is there. Then we have to have the city approval. So plans are being submitted to the city. We do some site preparation, and then we do construction. The whole time that this is happening, we are selling the condo units. So as of to date, we haven't even started, in fact, we haven't even finished raising money, let alone started raising construction, and we are 20% pre-sold. So if you think of that, that's pretty significant that we haven't even started. And even more significant is 50% of those are owners in the Austin who are so excited about it, they are buying units in Houston, and they'll either use themselves or you can sublet a unit after you buy it. And then what happens, obviously, there's post-construction, you finish some people just won't buy a space until they see it. It's just the way it is, so we do things. So one of the things we want to make sure that we're clear, when we're 70% of the units sold, we start making distributions to the limited partner investors. So that's where your money will start kicking in. And then at 90% sold, we will be taken out of the project. The project will be considered closed and we'll be done with our investment and fully cashed out. So that particular period in there is roughly that last half a year that we have, right? So if we pre-sell all of them, or at least up to 90% before that period of time, it ends earlier. And of course, that doesn't change your multiple unless the project does better than anticipated, but it will change your IRR and it will be greater because we've estimated the IRR at the full 2.5 times. And everybody knows construction sometimes has delays. So while we built delays into our plan, sometimes there are things that are unforeseen. Luckily, Houston is a lot better place to build than Austin. For those of us that live in Austin know this. Austin's a tough place to build. And also the Austin facility, they built it right in the middle of COVID, so they had a lot of challenges. So this one is going to be financial numbers overload because again, it's very unique, hard to describe. So over here in the uses and sources, we paid $4 million for the land. And to make sure that I'm clear with what happened, Massive Capital and PSC Properties have already bought the land. That's something we're bringing to the deal along with our investor investment. We have soft costs of 1.7 million. So that's everything to do with legal, lawyers, architects, designers, planners, everything that happens in that period is about $1.7 million. The hard cost, just over $25 million. That is to build the facility. Then we have G&A and marketing. So this is everything that's required to get the business up and running. It also includes all of the marketing, and it would also include any broker commissions, because sometimes a broker would bring a buyer for the condo to this, and then that broker is eligible to receive a commission on their thing. We have a contingency of just under $2 million. Again, sometimes things go wrong. And while all our estimates are conservative, you always need to have a contingency. Our loan fee was $600,000. And the lender does require us to have a little over $1 million in interest reserves in the project. So you can see the total cost here is about 36.5 million. If you say it quickly, it doesn't sound that big. And then we have senior debt. So we do have debt of just under 25 million. And then we have LP equity of just under 12 million. And again, to be clear, on our particular offering, we are raising 3.2 million of this particular equity. Now, everybody knows that interest rates are crazy right now. So we have a loan, and our loan is LIBOR. For those that don't know, it's basically a worldwide rate that's set by governments, plus 4. And our loan is maxed out at 10%. It cannot get any higher than 10%. We have underwritten the entire project as if we paying the full 10%. So again, we want to take a conservative approach. We do believe that LIBOR will go down, but who knows, right? I thought the last 2 increases the Fed wouldn't do it. So clearly my crystal ball is broken. But the closer we get to an election, the less it will happen. So it's only going to get better for us. But again, we underwrote the whole project at our 10% loan. So over here on the side, and again, very unique, very hard, right? When you're buying multifamily, it's price per door, or when you're building, and so this one is very unique. So the way we set it up was land purchase and debt costs. So you can see on our land and everything that we're doing in here, we're about 11.7 million. That includes things. And then we have debt that are being brought to the deal. And again, these 2 numbers match. This is what's interesting. So this is on a square footage sellable basis. So our all-in cost is about $322 per square foot. We are selling on average $500 per square foot. So again, remember, this is not grandma's storage unit. This is an unfinished flex condominium workspace at $500 a square foot. And we're already 20% pre-sold before construction. So this gives you basically, this is our delta where we are making our money, which is why this project is super profitable. So again, it's a little bit, we have optimized at 88 units, but because some of the units are combined or not combined, we decided that we would present this information on a square foot basis to make it a little bit more understanding, because it is a little bit more unique than anything that you would see. And then at the end here, there is a QR code. I've also been filling the chat box with different things to go, and it gives you an idea. So I'm going to stop sharing, so we can see everybody's lovely face. Although most of you, there's only a couple of lovely faces there. The rest of you are screens. And if you feel comfortable, unmute yourself and ask a question. If you want to put the question in the chat. And if you don't ask questions, I'm going to warn you, I keep babbling, and I'd like to talk. For those of you that don't know, I am super excited. This is one of the coolest projects that I've had the pleasure to be a part of. I put my own money in, and you know, working with Dr. Paul on for the first time as a passive, and this is the second deal together with him this year. I think I message him more than his kids do, I think, but
Probably.
we talk a lot. And we've been doing a lot of webinars and a lot of tours and a lot of calls. So, but again, I want to make sure drinking the Kool-Aid, right? One of the first owners of a condominium in Austin thought this was exciting, heard they were building another unit in Houston, brought the project to massive capital and combined forces, and then combined with XSpace. Our goal is that we're super successful here and that we'll be a part of many future XSpace builds. They're already planning to go. They've got a really unique business plan. They've got some great ideas to go closer to racing car, because it's very car enthusiast focused. So that's one of the things that a lot of people, obviously with car lifts and parking in the garages, that's been who's gravitated. Any questions? Maria put her contact info in.
I did.
So
If you have any more questions, I put our Calendly link if you want to set up a call to go over more. But I think the hardest thing for me to understand was what people were putting in these units, these flexible luxury spaces. I listened to the webinar, and it wasn't until I saw it in Austin that I really understood it. Every space is different. There isn't one space that looks like the other. It's 100% customizable, and that's why it's so cool. I mean, you go and you look at one person's space, and you're like, oh, maybe I can add that to mine. I mean, it's really cool. There's a huge sense of community in XSpace Austin, and it's just so neat to be able to experience that. It's so different. It's definitely a different type of real estate. So there's a video in the chat that Trevor posted that kind of gives you an idea of what we got to see when we were at that meetup. But if you're in the area and you are able to tour it, I would do it, because it really does change from what you see on the renderings to what you can see in person.
yeah. And one of the other things that's interesting too is it is very dynamic, right? So things can be customized. So Paul was one of the first people that bought a double unit. And then other people walking the space saw his double unit and went, wait a minute. And when we were doing our tour, there was at least 3 units. They were tearing the wall out between the units, and people were combining their spaces. So again, this is a unique group of owners. I was also very pleasantly surprised when we did our open house. People that owned units came, and you could tell the pride that they had in being there. Like they talked to everybody that was there. There's the guy known as the fish guy, travels all over the world getting exotic fish. And this guy was having the time of his life at our party, talking about, I mean, he was, you know. And in one of the other units, there's a guy who set up, he's got a golf simulator in his unit. So he has his office upstairs, he has a meeting room on the space, and then he has a golf simulator, and he likes to play golf with his business associates as they talk business. He has a little kitchenette in there, had some fine wine in his space. It's super unique. There's some other young men that are subtenants, and they have high-end like NASA military type drones. and they were building drones while we were doing the tour.
It's so different. It's
it was
so
just-
neat to see that though.
Yeah.
And people record interviews and podcasts there. Like when I say every space is different, I mean every space is different. And the builders have learned even things from XSpace Austin that they've moved to XSpace Houston. There's a ramp that goes up to all the units or all the spaces in Austin. Now we're gonna have an elevator. So it's really cool to see the changes and how they're adapting. And I mean, we are pre-sold 20% now. I don't foresee us having any issues selling the rest because they're just so cool. And I can't wait to see how quickly we can sell them.
So one
Go
of the owners or person came by in Austin, and they ended up buying 4 units altogether, knocked all the walls down, and I'm not sure what he's going to do in there. He's actually a pretty famous guy, and I guess I should not say his name because I want to keep his confidentiality, but you would know him. And so he's buying 4. And so more of that is happening in Houston. There's rumor that someone wants to buy 11 of them in Houston. So I don't know, but I don't want to promise those things, but there's a lot of excitement here. And one of the things I think that they didn't really figure on was, again, as Maria and Trevor have been saying, is the sense of community. So a lot of people go into their unit for the day, keep their doors up, walk around, talk to other owners, and you get to meet the most interesting people. It's really fun. And you all have this commonality of having these spaces, and they talk about, well, what are you doing in your space? What are you doing in your space? And it's just fun. They really, and then you can go to the lounge and commiserate up there as well. There has been a bunch of events that have been formed they've been done at XSpace Austin. And again, the XSpace Austin facility just recently got on an awards sheet for one of the most unique and beautiful buildings built in Austin in 2023. So that was a nice tip of the hat to the designers and what this is all about. There's a lot of excitement in Austin about this, and now we're seeing a lot of it in Houston as well.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't going anywhere. This is going to be the new form of real estate that is coming to America. So getting in now is just so awesome. And I know the QR code's gone, but mine is still here. So if you want to sign up now, you're more than welcome to. If you have any questions, I mean, I could talk about XSpace all day. So
Yeah,
let's
we
talk
don't
about
want
how
to keep
cool
it
it
too
is.
long. One last call for questions. And again, reach out to any of us. If you can't tell, we're excited. But reach out to any of us. We're more than happy to provide extra information. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're about 1/3 subscribed. We estimate that within 2 weeks we'll be fully subscribed. It is a first come, first get in basis, and get in means that you've done all of your paperwork and your money's in the bank. We had one deal at the beginning of this year. We had to send people's money back, and we don't want to do that. So we keep a much better eye on it. But again, if you're not already investing in commercial real estate, you really need to start it. And then this is a great way to diversify. And again, you'll get your money back in about 2.5 years plus, and then you can reinvest. And you know, some of the projects just aren't making sense. This still makes sense at a 10% interest rate because of its unique nature. And it's, you know, again, think of it. We're in a city of 9 million people, and we need to sell 88 condos in the richest zip code in Houston, across from, you know, an Aston Martin dealership with a Lamborghini up the street. It's a lot of fun. So awesome. Well, thank you everybody for coming. A couple of my friends are here. Appreciate your support. And again, reach out to us, and you're gonna get to eat your dinner early now, because we didn't have that many questions. So any questions, you just please reach out to us. Thank you everybody for coming. Thanks,
Thanks,
Paul.
guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it.
Have a good
Thank you
night.
so much.